Welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Ron Seymour, joined, as always, by Ryan Warner, Joseph McCann, and JJ LaPlante.
May I see the most unprepared host in all of fantasy football?
I am super prepared. You don't know me. I've got stats and statistics. Those are the same thing.
Yeah. I wonder what stats are short for.
I don't know. Statutes? All right. So today's episode, we're going to be going over some of our bust candidates for this upcoming season. There's not really a whole lot of news we can discuss. Really was hoping for some Julio Jones news, but
we can still discuss him a little bit.
Didn't we do that last episode?
No, Seattle's now in the picture.
Seattle's not in the picture. I don't care what Russell Wilson says.
Adam Schefter mentioned it. So obviously,
he also mentioned like every other team in the league.
There is only two people as insiders you can listen to: Ian Rappaport and him. There actually is something to it if he mentions it.
Right. Yeah. Russell Wilson talked to Julio Jones. That's what it is.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, man. He wouldn't mention it.
Russell Wilson obviously doesn't make the choices, or else he wouldn't be on the team anymore.
No, but he seems to be able to strong arm himself into that. So we'll see.
And Russell Wilson was going to go to the Bears too.
I 100% give it a 0.001% chance that Julio is on Seattle.
That's ridiculous to say because there's.
Why would Seattle even waste their money? They have Tyler Locket and DK Metcalf. They don't pass the ball
next year
because they want to keep him there and they want to keep him happy. And for some reason, he seems to be unhappy, even though he seems to have all the things he needs to win there. That's why.
It's
Don't
a business.
Surprise if it happens.
I will be very surprised because it's the stupidest move ever.
Yeah, I'm on board.
By all parties involved, including Julio.
It'd be real stupid for fantasy football.
Oh, it'd be horrible for fantasy football. I wouldn't be able to trust any of those wide receivers. The passing volume is not there.
True either, but
if Julio goes to the Seahawks, I will chug 3 beers on live stream next podcast.
Oh, now it has to happen, please.
Well, now I really hope I'm wrong. God damn.
I hope we get breaking news on this episode.
Right. That would be nice.
I'm on Joe's side now.
I'm on Joe's side now. I wanted to point out, though.
What brand of beer, too, JJ?
I don't know. I've been drinking Skylight lately.
Okay. All right.
What
are you drinking?
Western bullshit was that you just said?
It's the light version of Blue Moon.
No, we can't do light. We can't do light versions of anything. It's got to be something better than that.
What the hell do you drink over there, Joe?
I drink piss water, Bud Light.
No, Joe drinks Joe drinks hard cider.
Cut me out.
Not even beer.
Smirnoffs?
You can't do light versions. What do you drink? Bud Light.
Piss water, Bud Light. Dirty bastard. Oh my God. Get me to drink some heavy lager.
I'm just being a troll.
Oh, that was great. I like how you didn't even there was so much you could have said. You could have just said Budweiser. You could have said anything. But you were just like,
Bud Heavy?
Nah, Bud Light. I'm going to throw myself under the bus instantly. Not even.
Can't say I lie.
Still PBR. Cheap, reliable, not light.
Old Faithful. Back in the Oswego days.
Oh, boy. This got derailed quickly.
Do you want to get back on track?
So the first bust of the day would be Joe's take on Julio Jones going to Seattle.
That's not the first bust of the day. I called that bust last year, and I was correct on it. About him sucking last year.
I said Julio Jones going to Seattle. Are you going to listen when people talk?
I'm just talking about Julio. Sorry, too much Bud Light, I guess. No, I'm just talking about Julio Jones in general. Obviously, I'm a Julio Jones expert because I called the bust last year. So don't discount me yet. JJ might be drinking 3 beers next episode.
It wasn't really a bust. It's just injury.
He played well. He was just hurt.
Yeah, he only had 7.
Yeah, when he was on the field, he was really good.
Well, guess what? Injury or not, it's still a bust because he wasn't on the field. So, I win.
In accordance to where he was drafted and his output, then yes, I would probably say he
Bust.
was a bust.
And he's not getting younger.
All right, let's go right into it. Joe, you start then. Let's
No,
go.
we have more news. I've got a few more things.
News. What news?
Well, Sean Payton said he's going to lean heavily on Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray this year. So what do you guys think about that?
That's what he does every year.
Mm-hmm. But how would they work in that offense with those quarterbacks there?
I don't know. I don't like it for Alvin
You mean
Kamara
quarterback?
If
I got
if
you,
Taysom-
JJ.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
if Taysom Hill's in, I don't want any of Kamara or anybody else. If he's the quarterback.
It's not going to
So
touch that
wait.
situation.
I'm sorry. He said he's going to lean on Kamara and Latavius Murray
yes.
as
Well-
his running backs.
Yep.
And what was his other choice?
No, lean on them heavily in the offense.
Oh, so like be more of a running team.
Correct.
Well, here's what I take from that is if he's going to be a running team, then he's going to use Taysom Hill as the quarterback.
No bueno.
Two running back offense.
Well, I mean, to me, it's not news because last year they were 5th in run percentage in the NFL. They were already
Yeah,
a
like
heavily running team.
Joe's
And
just
they
trying to
added-
manufacture news.
I know it's a slow season, but I'll give you my last two bits that I saw hanging around the internet.
Okay,
today, which
I'm
was-
ready. Go.
So obviously there's the Aaron Rodgers news. So I believe there was someone from the Athletic that said Packers general manager said that they will absolutely not trade Aaron Rodgers. I think that's believable, but we'll see. And then there was also a rumor out there that Zach Ertz could be a fit for the Chargers, which I think could be a good fit in that offense as long
I
as
don't
he
get
stays healthy.
Because they just brought in Jared Cook, didn't they?
Yeah, but I could see them running
Trying to
two
get
tight ends.
all of the old tight ends.
Trying
Yes.
to go New England style.
Isn't this what the Bears
Doubling
did
up.
last year? Like they just signed all of the tight ends. Isn't there one point
Well,
in the summer last year where the Bears had like 13 tight ends on their roster?
they
I thought
had
that was
like
kickers.
they had like 8. Oh, the year before was the kickers. Last year was the tight ends. They had like 8 of them. And really, the only one they signed was like Jimmy Graham. The rest were all like rookies, undrafted free agents. So it was just a mess.
Why have quality when you can have quantity?
That's a good point.
That's the
That's what New
key.
England- That's what
Quantity
New
over
England did.
quality.
New England did that and they won Super Bowls. All right.
All right. What
I'm
was the
done with
other
my
piece?
manufactured news.
Oh, I thought you had 2 pieces.
That was my 2 pieces.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers was the other one. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Let's get into the bust. Joe, you've talked enough now. JJ, go ahead with your first bust.
So my first bust is a tight end, Mark Andrews. Now, I know you 3 ranked him pretty high in your tight end list.
Damn right.
Do your 2 early rankings. I was a little down on him, and I just don't think he's going to have that big a year for where he's being drafted right now. I think some of the other younger tight ends can overtake him. You saw Baltimore add Sammy Watkins. They drafted Rashad Bateman in the first round. They're allegedly one of the suitors for Julio. So, Lamar Jackson already struggles to throw the ball, and now they're adding all these extra targets. And I know he's kind of a safety blanket, but I feel like they're really going to try and manufacture him to throw to the wide receivers because he has a big pending contract coming up. They need to decide if they're all in with him or if they're going to let him go because the last 3 years he's really proven that he can't get it done in the playoffs. So I think they're really going to try and expand his game to get the ball more to the wide receivers. And I just think that Mark Andrews is in for a down year this season.
I disagree.
Yeah.
What round would you draft him in? Like, what round do you think he should be drafted in for what you predict he will do?
I personally wouldn't take him until the double-digit rounds, personally. I
His
think
current
Hawkinson
ADP
overtakes
is
him.
beginning of the 5th round.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
too high for me. I don't think he's worth it.
All right. So with that logic, I disagree with you. I think he could be solid this year, and I think Lamar Jackson could go back to Old Faithful this year. You got to remember, he's his red zone target, and any wide receivers being proven in that field of play for him just isn't happening. I mean, Hollywood, he's a deep target, but he's not a red zone target. Julio, if they brought him in, is definitely not a red zone target. And the only hope for them would be the rookie that they drafted. So I think it's just going to be Old Faithful and Old Reliable there. He's just going to be consistent again this year.
He was the 5th most targeted tight end in the red zone this past season. So even if his production goes down a little bit, the red zone targets will probably still be there. And then it's going to depend on if the Ravens choose to go on the run a little bit more or not. I mean, go for the pass a little bit more or not. I mean,
We know they're going to run.
They were 32nd in pass attempts last year, which definitely doesn't help anyone's fantasy value if you're a receiver. But
Where I will give JJ credit here, though, is Lamar Jackson's. If you casted it as a pie, he's got a very small amount of targets he throws him out. So that like pie compared to like say Patrick Mahomes' pie of scoring is a lot less. So there's going to be a lot less targets thrown at people because of his ability to run. So I could see that maybe potentially dragging down Mark Andrews, but Mark Andrews is his most reliable target. So I think he'll stay.
Well, so you call him his old reliable. Last year he had 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. Like,
okay, and that's horrible for tight ends?
For the 5th round, when I can get a receiver with a bunch of upside or one of the rookie running backs that could go for 1,000 yards. Yeah, and I think you can get.
It's not going to be a bust at his position, though.
But where he's
Where's he
being drafted, he's being drafted in the 5th round. So you could draft a tight end in 10th, 11th that could potentially be that exact spot.
Okay.
And again,
And he could get a much more consistent wide receiver running back at that time.
And that was last year when he had, it was Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, and then who was it? Like Devin Duvernay was on the field, and then like who else? And now you add these other wide receivers. I think he's being taken too high, and I think he's overvalued.
Yeah,
what players
just
are going
under
in this range right now?
5th round's definitely nuts. I wouldn't take him in the 5th.
Ron, do you know what players are going in this range?
Give me 1 second. I can find it.
Put Mark Andrews out first in the auction league for $1.
All right. So
I won't bet on him.
in this range, I'll start from 409 and go to about 505.
Mhm.
We got CeeDee Lamb, Adam Thielen, DJ Moore, Myles Gaskin, Deontay Johnson, Kareem Hunt, Mark Andrews is 503, TJ Hawkinson at 505, Cooper Kupp, TJ Hawkinson 504, Cooper Kupp at 505.
I would
Kyler
take
Murray,
every single one of those
506.
players over Mark Andrews.
There's a lot of them I would take over him, so I agree with you. So his ADP might be too high. Yes.
Yeah.
But as for him being a bust compared to his numbers last, so maybe for football, not so much a bust, but for our purposes, maybe a bust.
Yeah, for
All right, JJ.
fantasy and relevance to where you're going to draft him, it's a bust. All
We'll
right,
see.
Ryan, go ahead with your first one.
Okay, so my first one is, I went with Robert Tonyan, tight end, Green Bay.
Tanyan.
Tonyan,
know
whatever.
Why do you pronounce his name so weird? Tanyan?
I don't know. I like to throw a little spice on there,
He likes the N at the end. ETN.
Yeah.
Atene.
Atene.
Why do
You
you
were
care?
trying. You
I
were
like it.
trying to say how he messed up the name, and then you said the name right.
And I said it right.
We're all messed up.
You're just too good, JJ. You're too good.
Damn. Shame
All
on me.
right, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry, I'm not really
Nope.
sorry, but I'm gonna say it.
I figured you weren't. So as far as ADP goes, I actually don't think he's ranked very high, but I still think if certain fantasy owners, when they look at last season's rankings, they might take him a little bit too early or pay too much for him. He finished 3rd in tight ends last year in PPR leads somehow, even though it was all touchdown dependent. He tied Kelsey in touchdowns, but he was 24th in targets, 13th in receptions, and 11th in red zone targets by tight ends last year. So it was just a freak year, and I don't foresee it being repeated. He also had that one freak game against Atlanta for 3 touchdowns, put up 33 fantasy points. if you take that game out, he was only averaging a little over 9 points per game, which would put him pretty much out of the top 10, maybe a fringe top 10 guy. So I think some people are going to take him way too soon if they just look at last year's stats. And I think they're going to be hurting because I don't think he's going to even be close to that this year.
You got to remember, too, Devin Funchess is a wide receiver is coming back, too, and he's a big body that they might throw into the red zone. So it might take away target.
So Tunyon's draft ADP right now is the end of the 8th round, 8-10 is where he is currently at.
Yeah, so actually his ADP is pretty bad. But some people don't even look at that. They'll just look at last year's stats and just go from there.
And let's not also forget, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's still a wild card that we brought up in the breaking news, right in the beginning that, a team is not willing to trade a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, because that's never happened before, and GMs have never said that before, huh?
Exactly. But I will say with his ADP right now, I'd be a little bit more okay taking a tight end in this spot. You got starting from 805, you got Jamar Chase, Logan Thomas, Kyle Pitts, Curtis Samuel, Robert Tunyon, Jarvis Landry, Mike Gesicki, Devin Singletary, Jerry Jeudy. There's some names in there that I would take, but
yeah, I definitely heard some names in there that I'd take over
yeah.
over him even.
You can just do what I do and just wait till the waivers to pick your tight end.
Yeah, and I still think he's going to be someone that there's going to be some idiot in the fantasy league that takes him too early, I think, just based on what he did last year.
Ron Seymour.
And probably get burned.
No. Not only that, but he only had 11% of the team's targets last year.
Yeah, it was just he was with a MVP quarterback that year, so it just.
And like you said, he was bolstered by a game or two of just sheer dominance.
Yeah.
I picked him off waivers last year, and he saved me a few weeks.
Yeah.
The whole Packers offense has regression city written all over it, especially with what's going on with Rodgers. Even if he plays, he's not involved in the offseason, and I think the locker room's a little rattled right now.
The offensive line's deteriorating, too.
Yes, it is.
All right. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. After my lovely prediction last year of Julio regressing and coming across, Alibaba is going to come up with another prediction this year of another prolific wide receiver who I think is going to decline this year. Not because of his age, though. I'm picking Mike Evans first. I think he won't necessarily bust, but I don't think he's going to be as valuable as he was last year. I think this is just going to be a matter of there being too many mouths to feed in this offense. He's being seen by a lot of people as a top 5 wide receiver, which just is not the case, and he hasn't done that in the last few years. And you got to think about it. Even with Antonio Brown not being on the team until halfway through midseason and Chris Godwin being hurt last year, he finished with 109 targets, which was really around a wide receiver 2 number. So, I mean, look with them coming back completely healthy and those targets being there. There's also other tight ends they throw to. I mean, you have I'm not even mentioning Scotty Miller in this offense for wide receivers. They still have Cameron Brate at tight end, Rob Gronkowski, O.J. Howard. They throw to the tight ends. And he hasn't had over 1,100 yards since 1,200 since 2019. And his numbers have gone down. He really progressed last year because he was the red zone target, and they have a lot more people to throw to. I just really see his numbers going down with all the mouths having to be feed. And I'm projecting him even in a 17-game season to have maybe something like 980 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I think where he's going to be drafted is going to be too high, and you're just not going to get the value for him.
Yeah, and Tom Brady spreads the ball around. That's just kind of how he works. He won't really find someone just go to them consistently. I have him as on Fantasy Pros. It looks like they're ranking him for PPR the 14th wide receiver.
Yeah, his current ADP right now is the end of the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems a little early.
JJ?
I just don't usually have shares of Mike Evans. He kind of has a little bit of Tyler Lockett syndrome, and where he'll go quiet for 3 weeks and then explode 1 week. So I don't know. I don't typically have Mike Evans on my team, but
Well,
I do think later in the season, and particularly in the postseason, him and Brady really kind of built the rapport and got clicking. And I know they've been hanging out in the offseason. I saw them at a UFC together. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if his yardage stays consistent, but the 13 touchdowns, I think that's going to be hard to replicate. So I don't think Joe's stat projection is very off. 980 and 7 sounds right. Maybe into 1,000 yards, but yeah, there's so many mouths to feed there, and they even added more running backs. It just, who knows what they're going to do. So
You just get the feeling of a very low ceiling wide receiver number 2 with him this year, and I'm kind of surprised that this wasn't very controversial. I was expecting some kickback on this, but you all seem to agree with me.
I
Well,
wouldn't be upset if he was my wide receiver too, but I wouldn't be thrilled either. I don't know.
right.
could
I
take it
mean,
every-
he's going at the back half of the third round. Like, depending on how my team is built at that point, like JJ said, if that's my second wide receiver, you wouldn't be mad, but I think at that point you would definitely be prioritizing your third wide receiver to be someone with upside. Because we know what Mike Evans is going to be. Mike Evans is going to be consistent, probably.
Yeah.
A
Well-
week or two here or there where, he's not relevant. But obviously Brady likes him around the end zone. So he might. Well, how many games last year did he have like one catch for 9 yards and a touchdown?
The Super
Well-
Bowl.
look, if you look at his game log, so he pretty much had 3 games where he went 20 points or higher, and then he had that one freak game against Detroit where he put up 40 points. So even his stats for last season are a little inflated by that one game.
Yeah.
So pretty much 4 games where he broke 20 points. If I'm taking a wide receiver in the third round, I'm probably looking for something a little bit better than that, I would think.
Yeah.
The Denver game, he had 2 catches for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right. Yeah.
That's his stat line.
Yeah. Just like I remember, like in the beginning of the year, that's all he was doing was like 2 to 3 catches but he would save his day with a touchdown. Like
Week
Tight
one,
end, tight end playing wide receiver.
week
that's kind of what it's like.
Week one reception for 2 yards and a touchdown.
All right. So here's another question then too. Excluding Julio Jones completely out of this argument, who would you guys feel more comfortable drafting in the third round then? Tyler Lockett or Mike Evans? Wow.
Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett is the epitome of a boom bust person. He is either going to put up 40 points or 2 points. There's very rarely the in between with Tyler Lockett. I think he's a great wide receiver, but Seattle does not have a very high passing volume game. They tried it at the beginning of last year, and they weren't winning the games the way Pete Carroll wanted to do it. So they changed it, and their offense was actually running better when it was more balanced. And you've seen that, with DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson, and Tyler Lockett the second half of the year. They were still okay for fantasy, but they weren't that dominant player on your roster anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyler Lockett was just up and down, up and down, up and down. Like, just.
It hurt.
Yeah, it hurt. Like, because you'd bench him the weeks he was up, and then you'd have this monster game, and you'd want to put him in, and then you'd have nothing.
He really hurt me in DFS DraftKings because there'd be weeks I'd be like, he's going to definitely go out this week, and then nothing.
So here's his fantasy finishes throughout the year.
He never had back-to-back double-digit games.
No. His fantasy finishes throughout the year, starting from week 1, 22, 12, number 1 against Dallas, where he put up 32 points, 72, 53, had their bye week. Number 1 against Arizona with 45 points, 58, 64, 32, 11, and then 5 weeks of not breaking over wide receiver 47, finished out the year wide receiver 7 and week 17.
What's his
that's who he
ADP?
is.
What's
Lockets?
his ADP?
He's in the top 20.
I'm showing number 23 for PP. That's for wide receiver. 23 for wide receiver.
His ADP right now looks like 502.
That's not bad though. 5th round.
So
But
it's like
still,
Mark
like,
Andrews.
I would too.
Yeah. Yeah. Like dude,
That's right in the
just-
same range.
you're
I-
playing
I
with fire
had-
though.
I had Tyler Lockett on a team last year, and he will not be on any of my teams this year. I can't do it. It burnt
won
me
me
too
w-
many times.
He won me 1 week, but probably lost me at least 7.
He
Exactly.
won me
Right.
some
Yeah.
coin in that Arizona game on DraftKings. I'll say that.
He is someone you hyper want to target if you're doing like a best ball game. Because when he blows up, he's going to win you that week. But you also want that option of him not actually being in your lineup. So, all right. I will go with my first one. I don't remember all of your guys', so if one of you guys already picked him, I'm sorry. You can just tell me to shut up.
Shut up.
I met
How about if Ron picks one that we already did, he's in timeout, and we have to skip him?
that's fine with me too. Melvin Gordon.
You just stole mine. I put it in the chat even.
I looked. There was a lot in the chat. That's a lot of reading. I won't do Melvin Gordon. I have a couple. I thought of a few different ones.
No, you didn't have Melvin. It's fine.
No, I'm
Unprepared.
Stop
It's-
it. Stop.
It's fine.
No, it's fine. I got another one. Listen. This one's a little bit spicier. You know what? Both of mine are going to be a little bit spicier. When I think of bust, like I said, I think of where are you drafting this person? And are you going to get burnt by drafting him in that spot? My first player is going to be Jonathan Taylor. He's getting drafted at the 108. Now, I like Jonathan Taylor as a talent. But he's not going to get the passing volume because Naheem Hines is still there. Plus, they're bringing back what's his name? You're muted, so you said the name, but I couldn't read your lips.
Marlon Mack.
Marlon Mack. They didn't just bring back Marlon Mack to just sit on the bench. He's going to get his touches. So I don't believe Jonathan Taylor. Like, if I could get him in the second round, like middle to late second round, I'd be happy with that. But I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed drafting him in the first round. This says his ADP is 108. I've done a few mock drafts where he's went even earlier than that. And I don't like it. I don't think the upside is there.
I'm going to disagree partially because he's on one of my teams.
He's
But
on one of my teams too.
he finished number 6 last year. I think he could easily end up being a top 5 running back next year. And in the first round, what more can you expect out of, like, if you didn't snag a top 5 running back in the first round? I think that's a win.
Yeah, but what if he's not a top 5 running back?
He will be though.
What if he ends up
No, he
not
won't.
getting the passing work and Marlon Mack takes 4 to 5 carries a game?
I mean, Hines stole a lot from him in that one period last year too, and he still finished out top sits position. I mean, he had those weeks from week 8 to 10 where he pretty much did nothing, and he's still.
Let me address
That's my
this.
point, though. Like,
So I'm not worried about Marlon Mack because they signed Marlon Mack to a $1 million contract. That's it. I mean, it was basically the veteran minimum. So last year, you saw Taylor come out of the gate slow as he was learning in the league. And then he turned it on. So he only got 230 carries last season, and most of that came in the second half of the year. I would be
And put up 1,100 rushing yards.
Yeah, I would be absolutely stunned if he had less than 230 carries. I think he's going to be 250, 275, getting around 20 carries a game. And he had 36 receptions. Now, last year, Jordan Wilkins, who is, in my opinion, a below average NFL running back in that offense, he had 84 carries. I think that's the kind of range you're going to see from Marlon Mack, like 6 to 7 carries a game. He'll play a series or two to spell Taylor, but Taylor's going to get all the goal line work. And he had almost 40 receptions last year, even with Naheem Hines. So
You gave me Taylor, didn't you, JJ?
I did. I traded him straight up for Allen Robinson. Shame on me.
Is he going to be your keeper, Ryan?
It's looking like it, yeah.
I had him for cheap, and if Ron would reactivate the league, we'd know exactly what that price would be. But
Oh yeah, I got to do that. Well, here's some more. Yes, he did finish. What was it? Running back 6, right?
Yep.
Here's the last 5 teams he played. Houston,
in
twice.
his division, so he'll play him twice.
So you play them twice.
All right. That's 2 games. The Raiders, Jacksonville,
Plays him twice.
and he played Pittsburgh in week 16 after they were destroyed by injuries. They weren't the same run defense. Throughout the rest of the year, other than the last 5 weeks, he only finished in the running back 1 territory 1 time. Outside of those 5 games, playing very poor defenses, and in one of the games against Houston, he was running back 15.
I trust Aaron Jones more than I trust Jonathan Taylor.
He was a rookie last year too, though. You have
disgusting.
to give
And
him
true.
some.
I will make such a big bet with you that Taylor tops Jones' stats this year.
I don't think so. That'll be a beer chugging battle.
Write it down.
That'll be a
Write
beer
it down.
chugging
I'm writing that down. I'm just
battle.
gonna start keeping track of this.
You got to chug a full sits pack.
There's too much bullshit spit on this.
So
Aaron Jones is going to
so
have
you
a
take
more
Jonathan-
productive
right,
year. than
right, you take
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor at 108, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor finishes running back 13. Are you happy?
No, but he's not
Unless
going
he
to
gets
finish
hurt,
running back
that ain't
13.
happening.
It's not
Unless he
gonna
gets
happen.
hurt, I don't see that happening.
I don't take him in the first
Well,
round.
obviously, you're not happy if that's the return you get, but that's not the return
Yeah.
I expect.
It's not outside of the realm of possibility, though.
You could say that
Like-
with any player.
No, really. Christian McCaffrey.
There's
Barring
an
injury.
ACL.
Barring
Well,
injury.
He could be running back 67.
Right. Barring injury.
I thought he was your next bust.
Who's my next bust? What?
Aaron
I
Jones.
thought McCaffrey was going to be your next bust.
Oh, no.
All right. So it sounds like we're split 2 and 2 on here. So we'll definitely have to monitor this one as we go through. But I think
You're
Jonathan
all
Taylor,
going to hate my next one. It's going to be great.
Jonathan Taylor, top 5 running back
Excited.
this season.
No way.
Yep.
He's not even going to be close.
What do
He's
you?
gonna he'll be a
goodness.
running back too, but there's too many mouths to feed there, and the Colts are gonna just give too many carries to.
I definitely
I'm not
see
saying
a
he
route.
doesn't have.
I definitely see a route where he could be close to top 5.
No,
But
there's too many mouths to feed, and they're gonna give it to too many other undeserving running backs.
Last
Right.
season he was almost top 5. Like we watched it happen.
yeah,
So
he
it's
was
very possible for him to
like,
be top
I
5.
understand he still gets to play the Texans twice, but Jacksonville is going to be a different team this year.
Who's his quarterback coming into this year?
Who?
Who is
Jonathan
his
Taylor?
quarterback?
Carson Wentz.
Yep. And what does Carson Wentz like to do?
Throw the ball downfield.
Get hurt.
Scramble as well,
And
right?
also get hurt.
And get hurt. Who was his quarterback before that?
Old man Philip Rivers.
Captain Checkdown. His numbers are going to be worse.
But
Put
he,
your money where your mouth is, baby.
Listen, I agree that he could end up with 250 carries on the season. I'm starting my projections tomorrow. I don't know what division I'm doing first, but maybe
NFC
this
is
one now.
biased.
His
no.
division is shit. His strength of schedule is almost in the bottom quarter of the league. He's going to get more carries than last year. He has a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. There's no way he's not an RB1.
Running back by committee.
Write it down. Win your league.
He's
Listen
an
to JJ
RB1.
the champion.
Listen,
it
I
down.
have him in one of my leagues. I'm really hoping he finishes in RB1.
JJ, did you really just put the championship
He did.
trophy up there
did.
after you rated him?
It was part of the deal. It was part of what propelled me, and it helped Ryan. Right? Ryan led in scoring.
It helped Ryan miss the playoffs even more.
After Ron
Ryan won
conveniently
that
changed
trade.
after Ron conveniently changed the rules when I was no longer in the running.
I took a poll. It was straight democracy. If you don't like democracy, you can get out,
I begged for wheats.
Tommy.
All right. This is being written down.
Who's next? Who's first?
JJ.
JJ, go with your second.
My second bust is Naji Harris,
This is fun.
and
All right.
I'll tell you why. I don't know what's so funny, but I'm just gonna roll.
Go ahead.
Naji Harris, I think he's way overranked right now. ESPN has him at 14. Fantasy Pros has him at 15. CBS has him at 13. I think it's too high. He's over running backs like David Montgomery, Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson, J.K. Dobbins. I don't think that's right. And I understand why he's ranked where he is, because he's going to get an opportunity to get carries. But I thought the Steelers' offseason was quite shitty. And I don't think that they addressed the offensive line like they needed to. I thought they should have taken an offensive lineman instead of Naji Harris. They didn't address the offensive line until the third and fourth rounds in the draft. They had their captain, Marquise Pouncey, retire. They lost Alejandro Villanueva to the Ravens. How did they get better up front? And their offensive line coach was released, but they promoted Adrian Clem, who was already on staff and part of that shitty offensive line last year. So I don't think they got better offensively, and I think Big Ben got a year older. And I still think teams can load the box on them because Ben isn't going to throw over the top of anyone with his noodle elbow. I think Harris is going to get the work, but I don't know that he's going to average 4 yards a carry up there. And for where he's being drafted, there's a lot of other players that take over him.
He's being right now. What I see is he's being drafted at the end of the third round. If you're telling me I can get a running back at the end of the third round who's going to get probably close to 300 carries along with 40 to 50 receptions, he's going to be an RB1.
We'll see. I just like some of the other running backs in his range more than him, and I don't like what the Steelers did, and I hated their offense last year. And I don't think they utilized talents on that offense.
I agree with JJ. You're going to get the James Conner effect, who was the bell cow in that offense, and he didn't finish a running back one.
So the running backs
James
that are
Conner's
going
also
around
glass.
him. I think I hit it too many times.
I think you did too.
There it goes. You got to give me more heads up on that, man. I got to find the button. All right. So the running
I want
backs
to be able
are.
to snap and just have my sound.
I'm sorry. I'll
We
get
demand
better.
perfection.
All right. So the running backs that are going around him are. Well, we'll just say third round, I guess. We got DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Carson, David Montgomery's fourth round. Yeah. I think Najee Harris's ceiling is more than most of them.
Not Dobbins.
I would agree his ceiling's higher.
I said
I
most.
just yeah, he does. I mean, his ceiling is very high.
I would like him
but I think
over.
his floor is higher than people think.
I would like him over DeAndre Swift.
Nope, not me.
I would like him over Miles Sanders.
Yes.
I would like him over Chris Carson. That's more of an injury thing, though, I think.
Yep.
And I would like him over more than David Montgomery.
No.
No.
Again, Montgomery was buoyed by a very easy end of the year schedule. And I'm not saying David
All right,
Montgomery is a bad
no.
running back.
No. We're not doing this again. Who were his last 4 weeks?
Hold on. I got to get there.
He had Houston,
Vikings, Texans,
Minnesota.
Jaguars.
Oh, it's so
Green Bay.
team he plays twice,
Lions.
and another team he
Lions, I
plays twice.
Okay.
So same
but
argument as the thing we had before. He played two
This
divisional
year,
ones, he's
this
gonna
year
play
isn't
one.
exactly going to be the same as last year. First off, the Vikings went out and spent money on their defense.
Who?
Mike Zimmer's, I don't know, they went out and picked up a lot of defensive players in free agency.
Patrick Peterson.
As one of them, they picked up more. I don't remember them all. I just know they spent quite a bit. Mike Zimmer's defensives outside of last year have always been top 10 in the league. And then they realized that their defense was shit last year, and they went and made a point to bolster that defense this year.
Okay, you're still playing Detroit and Green Bay though. Two very bad defenses.
Okay,
I would
but
argue
I'm not.
Vikings better run defense, and I mean they shut the run down more than the Vikings. The Vikings, I don't know. This is so off topic, but yeah.
Plus, Tariq Cohen is coming back, so he's not going to get all that passing down work that he had before last year. That's the biggest thing.
They're going to rely heavily on him with Andy Dalton if he's a starting quarterback or a rookie. So, I mean, they're going to heavily rely on that running game because Nagy's going to want to play good defense and run the ball.
But you got to score to be able to keep running the ball too.
Fields, baby. That could hurt him. That could hurt Montgomery too because Fields can run. So
Yeah.
maybe you're on.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
Ryan.
Ryan. Go,
All
Ryan.
right, so Ron kind of alluded to it when he rudely tried to steal my Nets bust. I have Melvin Gordon. Finished 14th in running backs last season. Had a pretty strong finish to the end of the year that might have some people feeling pretty confident about him. But with the drafting of Javonte Williams, I think Melvin Gordon's going to fall far. I think his current ADP is running back number 21, but I don't even think he makes that ranking. I don't even think it'll be an RB2. I think you're looking at like a borderline flex value for Melvin Gordon.
Borderline suspension player too.
Yeah, yep, he has that impending thing. I did read that it was adjudicated. Don't know what that means, but
Adjudicated?
yeah.
I thought you
If
said
he was-
educated. I'm like, it means he's smart. I don't know what are you bringing that up for.
You idiot. But I'm assuming there's going to be a lead suspension impending, but I don't foresee him doing very well this year. I wouldn't want him on my team.
And if you must
He-
know, Ryan, adjudicated means it might have to go to court.
Oh, okay. So it's not like it's over or anything. Like it's
No.
Okay.
He finished as a running back one a whopping 4 times last year.
Yeah.
One
So
of
I
those-
had.
One of those was against the Jets. One against Miami, which is actually kind of good. Miami's defense was pretty decent last year. One against Buffalo, and the other one against the Raiders. So, not like they were supreme talent that he was running on.
He played the Raiders twice.
Oh, Jesus, put you guys in that.
Yeah, and he had 215
Yeah,
carries last
The
season.
Giants play Cowboys twice. I'm not predicting Daniel Jones to be out there fucking slinging for 500 yards.
Yeah,
both
you
those
are.
games.
You
He's a
did
top
put-
10 QB for you.
Yeah, you did
Yeah,
put him in your top
500
10.
yards and 5 fumbles.
No, hey. 7 fumbles. Get it right. He's best at something in the league.
Yep, best
Oh,
of
boy.
Yes, I agree though, Ryan. I agree that Melvin Gordon is first off his ADP is in like the 5th round, which no.
Yeah, it's just-
And I'm looking at his game logs from last year and I see a lot of red.
I'm on board. Yeah, all signs point to him on his way out. It's crazy. Running backs, 30 used to be the magic number for out of league and down, and now it seems like it's just getting younger. See guys like
He's
Gurley
off my draft board
breaking
completely, to be
down.
honest.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't even consider him, I think, at any point. Like,
Yeah,
I
me
would
either.
I would take a gamble on somebody else that maybe might not be viewed as valuable, but I think just about anybody would have a higher ceiling.
All right, Joe, go ahead.
All right, so on to our next player. I'm going to go with the big flashy name that you might be able to throw up on your auction draft and give people to spend a few bucks on. It's not really a surprise. A lot of people predict this. It's Odell Beckham. He's coming back from an injury. I mean, he's a big name. He's had 2 injuries in the last 4 years, 2017, 2020. Both of those years, he finished under 320 yards, so not very successful. Honestly, he hasn't had 1,300 yards since 2016, so he's been on the decline since then. He's going into an offense which kind of figured out that they go through the running game last year. They didn't need him, and they were very productive on offense without him. I think he would have a more successful year, actually, if he got traded towards the deadline, which they might actually look to do to shred his contract, and just because he's got a big name and to get value for him. So, I mean, could he still maybe have 1,000 yards and be productive? Yes, but I don't really think he's going to be very productive compared to where he's going to get drafted. He's a big name. He's someone you want to avoid and push off onto other teams. So I think going down this year. Yeah, glass.
Yeah. I
What's
gotta
his
see
ADP,
him.
like 6th round?
I don't know. I gotta see him make it through a year again. I can't.
He had that one.
I fully believe if he went through a whole year, he'd have 1,000 yards. He's uber talented. Like, no one's gonna deny his talent.
I never thought I would say I see him as a wide receiver 3, but that's really what I see him as.
Yeah.
I mean, he had that
It's-
one big game against Dallas, but that was pretty much it.
His ADPs though is still in the 6th round, and like
That still feels too high.
it does. Because it's mostly because of the injury concern. Like you said, it's been 2 years. And even before then, it was here and there. He was still getting injured.
Mm-hmm. And we also have to take into account the Baker Mayfield effect last year, who, after Odell went down, he came into his own, and that's with lesser wide receivers. I don't think you'll feel the pressure to throw it to Odell this year. He says, listen, I can do it without you. I don't need to force you the ball this year. And he
Well,
still wasn't
what
gonna get
I'm
full
hoping
targets
though,
with it anyway.
see, I agree with you a little bit, but the way I look at it is now he's not forcing Odell the ball. If Odell is coming back healthy, which I believe he will, he got injured pretty early, so he should be all right to, come back and be full health.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to run the ball more. I think his target volume might go down, but the efficiency might increase because people are going to have to try to stop this running game. People are going to be rotating over to Jarvis Landry a little bit more. Like,
Donovan People-Jones too. I think he's going to pick up this year
maybe.
too.
Like I feel like his consistency might be better than it ever has been this year. But his big games will be lower. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
I don't foresee him like going out there and like putting up 200-yard games.
Maybe 70-yard games.
But if he consistently can get you between 60 and 90 yards and a touchdown every other game, I'd be thrilled if he was my wide receiver 3.
I think last year you really saw like Odell. I mean, he's getting a little older. I think he's really starting to accept the fact that he's not going to get like Michael Thomas volume targets.
I don't agree with that. He was complaining last year, even with it. You saw it with the way that he was getting forced the ball early in the season.
That was more 2019, in my opinion. Last year, he kind of seemed on board, and it was more the storyline that he was embracing the role and the team was winning, and he understands that they're a run team. I remember that Thursday night game versus the Bengals where he had that long touchdown. That was kind of a lot of what they talked about as far as the Browns. So I think he's going to have 1,000 yards this year, obviously pending health, but I think he'll hit 1,000 yards. And if he's there in the 6th round, I'm going to take him there. So that's just me, though.
Yeah, he could be your 3rd wide receiver then, though. But it would have to be, it'd have to be real. honestly the second half of the 6th round. I think for me, there's a few more players I'd want in that range, and I'd feel more comfortable 7th, 8th round. But he's a big name; he might not even last till then. It would really be a coin flip for me at that point with him. So yeah,
I always end up with him. I bought that the year he first went to the Browns and Mayfield was supposed to ascend. I bought all into that hype, and I way overdrafted him 2 years ago. So
I love how the 1,000-yard mark is like, everything we've been talking about. Like, 1,000 yards. It's only 59 yards a game to get to 1,000 yards in a 17-game season.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's not as.
It's
Not
an
as big.
additional game.
It's really not like, I don't know. I have a feeling my projections are going to put a lot of people over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
That's sad. That what I did with Mike Evans, and that was over. I projected the extra game, and I put him at 980. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Maybe that's a little low.
Maybe it is a little low now. Yeah.
I don't think so. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. For the sake of time, I'm probably just going to call this episode.
No.
What do you mean? No.
You got to do another one.
We've been going for over an hour.
Yep, and you haven't done your second.
Yeah, you said you had another spicy one.
Yeah, so let's go.
Oh, it's super spicy. All right. You guys are all going to yell at me. And remember, this is, compared to drafting.
And you thought you were going to leave us hanging.
All
He was
right.
nervous to say it. That's why.
So this person is being drafted at the end of the 2nd round. All right. It's a wide receiver. Had a historic campaign last year. Anybody yet?
Or campaign. No, not Stephon Diggs. He's taken way before that.
Justin Jefferson. People are banking on him coming in and being this world beater again. I already brought up the Vikings defense, how it was horrible last year. And they had to pass the ball a lot more to try to win these games. The Vikings want to run the ball and play defense. I'm not saying Justin Jefferson is going to have a bad year. But do I think he's going to put up 1,400 yards and how many ever touchdowns he put up again last year? No. I think he's going to start seeing more of the double coverage. Thielen is still there, and Kirk Cousins loves Thielen in the end zone. Irv Smith Jr., I mean, he could break out. He could potentially be something bigger. And Melvin Cook. Like, the fact is, Justin Jefferson is more, I think the probability is higher that he finishes a high-end wide receiver 2 than it is to finish within the top 5 of wide receivers.
Highly disagree.
Yeah, he didn't even have a lot of touchdowns last year. He only got 7.
Highly disagree. He's coming into his
Also,
second
Minnesota
year.
was still top 6 in run percentage.
Yeah. I think they're going to rely on him
Right,
more.
but
And he's coming into his
They were
second
top
year
6 in
more
run
comfortable in the
percentage,
league.
but they had to pass the ball more because they were allowing a lot more points. I don't
True.
I don't foresee them allowing as many points this year as they did last year. They were like 29th in the league in defense last year. I don't believe that's going to be the same. I think it regresses more to like the average, and there'll be a top 15 defense at least, which
That's
means passing work will go down. They'll be able to run the ball even more. It wouldn't shock me if they were first or well, probably not first. That'll be the Ravens. Second or third in running the ball next year. He's good. He's a great wide receiver. He proved that last year. But I don't know. I just feel like he was buoyed by a couple big games. I see 175 yards there, 166 yards there. Like, those are monstrous games.
So where would you
True.
take him?
I mean, what did I say his current ADP is right now? Like the end of the second round?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If he fell to me in the third round, I'd probably have to take him. But at that point, if I'm relying him as my wide receiver one, I'm going to be more nervous.
See, I'm not. And, if you look at Kirk Cousins' stats, last year he threw the ball 500 times. In 2018, when the Vikings were a top 10 defense, he threw the ball over 600 times. Like,
Wasn't Dalvin Cook injured that year?
a little bit.
Yeah.
But he still played. I don't know. I think the targets will be similar. I don't think he's going to have like 1,800 yards or anything like that, but 1,300 yards seems very reasonable. And also, he's a wide receiver that will bitch if he doesn't get the ball.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, but that doesn't always work well either.
He's young. He's talented. He's coming into his second year with more comfort in the league. I think they'll get away a little bit more from Adam Thielen. I think he's going to have very similar to the numbers he had last year and maybe another touchdown or two. Like
I just foresee defenses having an full off season of watching film on Justin Jefferson. And
I
I'm
also
not,
see a full
again,
season of them sweating the running back that they have to go up against Dalvin Cook and stack in the box.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying people are expecting him to like come back out and like you're saying, like be exactly the same as he was and, maybe even a little bit better. And I think the brakes need to be pumped on that. He just had a historic rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
Like chances are he's going to regress at least some. And am I saying like his regression is going to be like, oh, now he's going to get 900 yards and 4 touchdowns? No.
Just like the Odell juice of old, I am drinking this Kool-Aid.
Right.
Even with a little bit of regression, though, I don't think a late second round pick's bad.
No, I love him in that spot. I typically like to take my running backs early, but I would love him in that spot.
I think this is more of a, I think it's more of like a cautionary tale type of thing rather than a bust. I think that's kind of what I'm feeling about it. Because, like, I like Justin Jefferson. Would I be mad if he was on my team? Well, no. But I feel like so many people are out there thinking he's, guaranteed as a top 5 wide receiver this year.
Like me.
Like you. And I don't. Calvin Ridley. I'd rather have Calvin Ridley, especially if Julio gets traded.
Oh, no.
What do you mean? No.
I think their seasons will be pretty comparable. Though, I mean, Ridley, if Julio's traded,
Keenan Allen is going a half a round later than Justin Jefferson. Like,
I like both of them.
I wouldn't be mad getting Keenan Allen. Like, there's a lot of people there.
I love Keenan Allen too, though. Like, I think he's up there with Jefferson this
And
year.
And that's just my point. Like, people have got him up there in this tier of just like supreme dominance. He's done it once. Like, and I understand it was really good, but I mean, people come out and do really good things for 1 year and then just get derailed.
Boys, if he ends up back in our auction pool, this might be the one might be able to pump the money up on me for.
I can't remember who had him.
And I doubt that he ends up. I'd be shocked if anybody doesn't keep him.
I don't see him coming back to the.
I
pool.
guarantee he was picked
There's
up
no
off
way.
the waiver wire.
Yeah, it's probably
And
for dirt
JJ, I'll
cheap.
reactivate the league tonight. Calm down.
I already emailed you a reminder.
I like it.
I love it.
All right. Are we done here, boys?
I think so.
Call it.
You got
Yep.
all
Emotionally
your
exhausted.
clips that you're gonna need for the Instagram, Joe.
There's plenty. I'll find some tonight.
Go find those clips, and then you can go listen to them on Instagram at Garbage Time Fantasy Football.
Where else are we, Ron?
We are everywhere. We are Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Simplecast,
YouTube.
YouTube,
Yep.
and you can follow us. We each have our own little Twitters. I'm not going through all of them right now.
Yeah, I don't have
At
a
least
Twitter.
list JJ's because he seems to be
JJ's
the mailbag
is
guy.
J isn't yours just JJ LaPlante with like 4 E's at the end?
What a memory on you.
I know.
That's right.
It's impressive for a man at my age.
Oh, feel free to leave questions in the comments on YouTube too,
Please
or message them
don't feel free. Just
Do it.
do it.
or
To the
send them in
6
the
of you
messenger
listening
on
right
Instagram.
now, just
This is
help us out.
Yeah. Like, even if you don't have a real question, find another question that someone else asked something else, and then just repurpose that for us. And then we'll give the better answer.
Damn straight.
Yeah. Like what I did there.
Love it.
All right. We are out of here. Till next time.